Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, time for another sprint zone, and let's get the party started. Heading up County Road 5, everyone's in a decent looking double pace line, well behaved, and it's a good sized group today. You're probably wondering why my picture isn't in the corner today. Some will be happy about that, some may not be. I upgraded the Mac software, and it was doing some weirdness with the chroma key stuff, so I'll have to go figure that out. Or maybe just takes away. Regardless, I ramble. So there's the Popo guarding some of the workers. That must have been an issue. Now we're controlling the lane here as we head into the new red light, or relatively new, at County Road 5 and Prospect. Everyone looking to have a good time today, as there's not much wind, there's plenty of people out, and a good time, as I always say, will be had by all. So we make the corner, and you can see Eric kind of up the road already. He comes out once in a while, and this is perhaps changing the culture of the ride a little bit, but the GC men or the other GC men are all back here and they're not concerned. There's Carl, and he's being pretty sly here, sliding to the back, not wanting any part of the front or any of the wind. I am not so afraid as I move closer to the front, and Steve Highland, as usual, not afraid of any challenge. Chatting with Byron here about whether his camera was on. It may be interesting to see some of his footage. If he ever produces any of that, that might be cool. But up front, we see the big man doing the work. Looks like Don Doherty, and I don't know who the guy is in the orange helmet. I'll have to get his name. And of course, legendary JC behind them. And we can see Tyler or Eric up the road pulling a move that Tyler pulled early on in the season to win this one. I don't think Eric has quite the horsepower of Tyler, but he definitely is to be respected. I'm sitting behind JC as we are keeping him in check, and Byron going up to the front also to do double duty, just making certain that everything is correct. Now, the Cat 5 mentality would have been to immediately go chase this fellow down, fragmenting the group and making it a divide and conquer, actually making it easier for Eric to get away if, in fact, the group was not together. Byron, of course, is seasoned and he knows these tactics and he wants to keep the tempo high but keep everybody together so that when we decide to pounce, everyone will be there. I'm putting out some pretty good wattages here, even though it's early on, but I'm happy to have crested the hill and to be able to relax a little bit. I've got decent legs today and not wanting to go too hard, but this would be my last reasonably hard ride before the State Mountain Bike Championships on Saturday. Byron adjusting the camera there, you got to look good. And I want to get a good position going into this corner because I don't want to get gapped off by people. Looking rearward, Steve Highland, excellent bike handler. We got Marcelo back there, Eric Lamar, Curtis, I can see in the red. We got Scott. And everyone's reasonably tight here. People have actually gotten better at cornering, as we will see. And the gaps that used to open up in the old days. I could even see Isla back there a little bit, still hanging on there. Nice corner there, nice lean by everybody. And we can see who's doing the work up front, and it's still Byron. And we can see Eric just dangling off the front here. It's my turn to go to the front a little bit. I got to do some work. Can't have Byron do everything. And if things get really hot and heavy, we'll need his horsepower later on. Not that he needs any assistance from me, but I want to do some work. Pushing the mid 200s here, bringing and keeping at least Eric in check. And it's a good idea for me to go up front and at least, keep him in check to see what kind of wattage he's actually throwing out there. Making a guess anyhow. A few seconds later, we can see the group is still there, and Byron checking to make certain everybody's in tow, and the heads of state are all ready to rock and roll. Byron looking strong up there as we start to bring Eric back. Got JC chomping at the bit, very comfortable sitting on the wheel as I slide back through the peloton. JT JC takes over, Steve Hyland, and it looks like we got Marcelo. And let's see who else is going to come through. Not a whole lot of people wanting to do any work. Lots of basically wheel suckers back there today. Not certain what's up with that, but maybe they were tired or saving something for the war ride or what have you. Looking rearward, everybody's in tow, as those S-corners under the smooth guidance of Byron have kept everybody alive. I see Rob Baum back there. Everybody's here, so it's going to be a nice party. Marcelo in tow behind the heads of state. Marcelo looking pretty strong this year. Definitely upped his game from the end of last year. And it's always good to have more GC men that are not only able to hang on, but willing to do some work at the front. For me sitting in at like 200 plus watts, this means the pace is really high. And who knows what kind of wattage that JC is putting out there. But he's definitely bringing Eric back and pretty easily here. Byron off to my side, keeping the double pace line and helping the group stay in a 2x formation, keeping us nice and tight. And as we can see, look at that. Everybody's there and looking strong. Lots of people on off of my right shoulder. They're taking a little more of the wind. You'll see it's a slight echelon, but not much of a big deal. But you are taking more wind if you happen to be out there. So now I'm into the mid 400s. So we know this little grade always causes sometimes a selection to be made, and it's a good place to make the catch. And once again, it's Grupo Compacto. Now, JC, Mr. John Kraft, not content to sit on the wheel, but to keep the pressure up. Someone who was gassed might not have done the same, but it's time to keep the pressure on as Eric is caught out in the wind a little bit. So I give Eric a little space in case he wants to slot in here. Doesn't look like he wants to right away. Steve Hyland looking to do some damage up front. Always willing to do some work. Rearward once again. Everybody's still there. Looking strong. In fact, this is probably the biggest group that we've ever brought over that little hill that I can remember since actually doing the sprint zone, unless of course we weren't going hard. So now it's go time. Byron, who had been sitting in for a while, wants to hot the pace up a little bit and keep things honest. Eric still hasn't had enough, is going through on the pace line, while there are other wheel suckers that are content to sit in. Don Georgia looking good. Looks like Justin up there. Marcelo hasn't had to do any work at the front yet, but is holding his position nicely as I slide back through the group. Finding, I believe, Eric's wheel as the people behind me, I'm certain, are more than willing to get a bigger draft in the rear. Danger is if Byron or somebody had the inclination, especially JC, to attack, it could be game over. Many of the people that are up front have race pedigree and have been on the podium recently. Especially that would be Mr. Doherty. So, JC making certain to cover any move that could possibly happen, and nobody goes with him. Wheel suckers galore back here. And as we can see, it looks like folks are being ejected off of this train. The game is afoot. I come through looking strong. Looks like Scott's on my wheel. You got Eric back there. Curtis, who had been away for a while, longtime GC man, still in contention. I find Don's wheel, and it is a safe wheel, and it's definitely hotting up. Look at my wattage, 350, 300 watts, and my heart rate at 170. I'm at my limit here. Although at the time, it didn't feel like I was on my limit, but I knew it was like hard. I question, and I am using the heart rate strap, and it's the Wahoo, and it's actually pretty good. Kind of surprised that the heart rate's actually staying at 170, but sitting in, maybe that's to be expected. And Marcelo pops, no moss, and the group goes by. Had to make a little bit of an acceleration to get on the wheel, And you can see the wattage is 400 or 500 watts to close that as Marcelo sags back. He might have been able to recover on that as the group was big enough, but I don't think that's going to happen this time. I find myself closer to the front, and the wattage is good. And at this point, I have no thoughts of actually going for the sprint as 400 or 500 watts here. I'm on the limit, and I'm basically like swinging, but I've got good legs. There was a little bit of an acceleration, there's a gap, and I'm gonna try to close this one, and I am very close. And as soon as I bring everybody back, there's a jump. And at this point, I just shut it down because there's no room. And if JC is out sprinting somebody like Justin and Byron, there's no chance for me, and I'll save my legs for the weekend. Well done, John. Well done. And we get lots of people coming through at the end. Good job, everyone. That was a fun one. Good to see lots more people in the GC. Interesting how the the color of this has changed. There's a few people up at the front rotating, but once Byron hits the front, maybe only JC is able to go around, and that's if Byron kind of lets him. Anyway, everyone, a good time was had by all. Totally enjoyed this one. And until next time, peace out, everyone, and enjoy the show.